There is a man in his bathroom this morning brushing his teeth before church. He checks his phone with the toothbrush still in his mouth. He scrolls something he should not be scrolling. He puts the phone face down and finishes getting ready. He buttons the collar of the shirt he wears every Sunday. He picks up his Bible from the kitchen counter on the way out. He gets in the car, already convinced he is one of the good ones. People reading this assume the warning is for the obviously broken person down the street. People reading this assume their church is full of those people, but they themselves are not one of them. The man brushing his teeth this morning, scrolling what he was scrolling, was you. There is a sin you fed before breakfast today, and it is already at work inside you. You did not see it move because it never moves loudly. It moves the way rust moves on a hinge nobody checks. You will not feel it kill you. You will only feel the door stop opening. That is exactly how every sin on this list is operating in your life right now. 8 of them, and one of them owns a room inside you tonight. Pride. A worship leader is checking the live count on the stream before the second song. He tells himself he is checking the audio levels. He is not checking the audio levels. Pride does not roar, it whispers, and it whispers loudest in the people who serve the most. Stop moving this to the loud personality at your church and look at the volunteer who never misses a Sunday. Pride is the sin that uses your gifts as evidence that you do not need the cross today. It tells you the prayer you prayed this morning was deep. The verse you posted was sharp. The comment you left was needed. It builds a small platform inside your chest and seats you on it without ever asking out loud. You bring it to ministry, to marriage, to the comment section, to the dinner table. You replay the compliment longer than you replay the conviction. The applause you replay in your head on the drive home is the altar you actually worship at. Jesus stepped down from a throne no human ever earned, knelt with a basin in his hands, and showed pride what it looks like to die. He washed the feet of the man who would deny him before sunrise. He let the soldiers strip the only Lord who never sinned. 3 days later, he walked out of the grave, and the first words to a broken disciple were not a rebuke. That is the kind of mercy that will undo a proud heart in one sentence if you let it. Pride does not need to be argued with. It needs to be buried. The empty tomb is the only place deep enough to bury it. Lust. A married man is in a hotel room at 11 at night with the television on and his wedding ring still on his finger. He is not on a business trip, you would suspect. He is on the kind of trip everyone takes. Lust does not need a bedroom. It only needs a screen and 3 minutes of secrecy. This is not the man on the news. This is the man in the third row. Sunday morning. This is the youth leader on the drive home from a conference. This is the wife who has not been touched in months and started talking too long with a man at work. Lust does not begin with an act. It begins with an image you allowed to rent space. It tells you nobody is hurt because nobody is in the room. It promises a private sin and delivers a public consequence 5 years later. Every image you consume this week is now part of the architecture of your soul. The same Christ who refused the offer of every kingdom in the wilderness rose from the grave with the power to make a person new from the inside. He was tempted in every way you have been tempted, and he did not break. His resurrection is not a metaphor for a fresh start. It is a real event in real history with a real witness count. That is the only power strong enough to clean what lust has stained. You do not need to manage this sin. You need to bury it where Christ already buried his own death. The grave he walked out of has room for what you have been hiding tonight. Unforgiveness. A woman is sitting in her car in the church parking lot rehearsing what her sister said to her in 2014. She is going to walk in and lift her hands during worship in 11 minutes. The person you cannot forgive does not need to be named. You already saw their face. Before your mind moves this to the man you saw on the news last week, stay. Unforgiveness is the cell you locked yourself in and then complained about the lighting. You have rehearsed the offense so many times the script has worn a groove into your mind. You call it boundaries, and you call it self-respect, and you call it discernment. It is none of those things. It is a debt you keep collecting on a person who will never pay. Every Sunday you sing about a forgiveness you refuse to extend. The prison is self-built, and the one suffering inside it has always been you. Jesus stood in front of the men who abandoned him with the wounds still visible on his hands and said, "Peace be with you." He did not lead with a list of how they failed him. He did not require a written apology before he ate fish on the shore with them. He gave peace to the room before he gave instruction. That is the door he is holding open for you tonight. You can keep the offense, or you can keep the peace. You cannot keep both. The risen Christ has already paid the debt you keep trying to collect. Greed. A man is in his car at midnight scrolling listings for a house he does not need. His current home has not even been paid down past 60%. Greed is not a millionaire problem. It is a heart problem dressed up as ambition. Do not put this on the rich man you do not know. Put it on the cart you almost checked out tonight. Greed convinces you that one more upgrade will finally settle the noise inside. It tells you the next salary is the one that makes you generous. It dresses itself in the language of providing for the family. It hides inside the hours you are no longer home. It hides inside the tithe you stopped giving when the bonus came in. The thing you cannot stop wanting has already become the thing you cannot stop serving. Do not let this become a sermon about someone else. Sit with it longer than feels comfortable. Christ owned nothing on the day he died, and 3 days later, walked out of a borrowed grave with the keys to everything. He did not store up, he poured out. He did not protect his life. He laid it down and picked it back up on the third day. The richest moment in human history was an empty tomb belonging to no one. If your hand will not open for him, it will not open for anyone. The grave he walked out of is the only place wealthy enough to buy your contentment back. Gossip. Two believers are in the church kitchen talking about a third one who just stepped out of the room. One of them lowers her voice without realizing she lowered it. Gossip wears the clothes of concern and signs its name as a prayer request. This is not the loud cousin at the family reunion. This is the small group last Wednesday. Gossip is the sin Christians excuse the most because it never feels physical. You did not hit anyone. You did not steal anything. You only moved information. But the information you moved was a person, and the person you moved was made in the image of God. You took a sister's name and you sanded it down for entertainment. You called it venting. You called it processing. You called it discernment. The reputation you helped bury this week may belong to someone Christ died to redeem. The risen Lord could have named every man who denied him, and instead he made breakfast for them on a beach. He spoke restoration into Peter in front of the same friends who watched him fall. He used the public space to repair, not to expose. That is the pattern your tongue is supposed to copy. The mouth that worships on Sunday cannot be the mouth that buries on Tuesday. The empty tomb sealed every accusation against every believer who hides in him. It will not seal the ones you keep speaking aloud. Envy. A young woman closes Instagram with her thumb still tense. She did not even realize she was holding her breath. Envy does not want what they have. It wants them not to have it. This is not the bitter coworker you avoid. This is the scroll you finished 30 seconds ago. Envy is the only sin that gives no pleasure even while you commit it. It is rage at God dressed up as analysis of someone else's life. It rewrites every blessing into something they did not deserve. It makes you feel small when their child gets in, when their book sells, when their marriage looks easy. It makes you celebrate quietly when they finally fall. Every blessing in someone else's life that you resented was a blessing God already trusted you to celebrate. The empty tomb is the proof that God's storehouse is large enough for everyone he loves and never runs out before he gets to you. The grave Christ walked out of is the loudest answer to scarcity ever given. He has more than enough for them and more than enough for you. The portion he is giving someone else is not stolen from yours. The cross is wide enough for both of your names without crowding either one. Envy starves in the presence of a generous God, and the resurrection is the loudest evidence he has ever been one. Lukewarmness. A man is in row 5 mouthing the words to a worship song he has not meant in 2 years. His wife is next to him, and she does not know. Lukewarm faith is the silhouette of belief with the substance gone quiet. This is not the cultural Christian on Christmas Eve. This is the regular attender Christ said he would spit out of his mouth. What you just felt in your chest is not conviction for the seat next to you. It is conviction for yours. You have sat in that silhouette for years and called it faithfulness because nobody from the outside could tell. You take notes during the sermon and forget them by Tuesday afternoon. You give when it is convenient and you serve when it is visible. You have not wept over your sin in longer than you can remember. You have not been hungry for God in a way that disrupts a single hour of your week. The same Spirit that raised Christ from the dead is the only fire that can put heat back into a heart that has gone cold inside its own pew. He is not asking for your performance. He is asking for the part of you that is still alive. The resurrection was a real event in real Jerusalem with real witnesses, and that same power is still being offered to your bored soul. You are not too far gone. You are too quietly settled. The tomb opened on a Sunday for people exactly like the man in row 5. He does not need a better sermon. He needs the fire that walked out of that grave. Self-righteousness. A man is finishing this video and already preparing to send it to someone who needs it more than him. He is editing the share message in his head before the credits even play. Self-righteousness is the sin that hides best because it dresses up as the cure. The forwarded link is not a ministry. It is the exit you are trying to take from this very sentence. You have spent the last 7 minutes nodding along while the warning crawled past you. You assigned pride to the elder, lust to the cousin, gossip to your group chat, and lukewarmness to your old pastor. You assigned every item to a face that was not yours. That assignment process is the 8th sin, and it just happened in real time. The deadliest sin in the room you are sitting in tonight is the one convinced this list is about everyone else. The Pharisees memorized more scripture than most pastors alive today, and Jesus called them whitewashed tombs. The cross was built for the religious man as much as the tax collector, and the empty tomb has room for both. Christ saved his fiercest words for the men who were sure they did not need him. He saved his gentlest words for the woman everyone agreed did. That contrast is the doorway you are standing in front of right now. You can stay outside it as the man with the link, or you can walk through it as the man who needed it. The grave Christ walked out of will not unseal for anyone who refuses to die in it first. You came to this video looking for a list, and the list has been looking back at you the entire time. So you sat through 8 sins tonight, and one of them owns a room inside you. You know which one. Pride feeds on Sunday mornings, and it kills, and Christ still rose. Lust feeds in private screens at midnight, and it kills, and Christ still rose. Unforgiveness feeds on a memory you will not bury, and it kills, and Christ still rose. Greed feeds on a cart you will not close, and it kills, and Christ still rose. Gossip feeds on a name you will not stop saying, and it kills, and Christ still rose. Lukewarmness feeds on a pew you will not leave, and it kills, and Christ still rose. Every other religion in human history offers a way to manage sin. Christianity is the only one that offers a man who walked out of a grave with a date and a city and a witness list. The resurrection is not a feeling, and it is not a metaphor, and it is not a Sunday tradition. It is the only mercy in human history, with a tomb that anyone can still visit empty. That is the door being held open for you in this exact moment. Tomorrow morning, the sin you fed today will ask to be fed again. You will either feed it again or bury it. In the grave, Christ already conquered. There is no third option, and there has never been one. So tell me in the comments, which of the 8 is asking for breakfast tomorrow? Be honest, because the man in row 5 was honest with himself for the first time in 2 years, and that is where it started for him. If this hit something in you tonight, watch the video on lukewarm faith next. It pairs with this one. Subscribe to Woke Faith if you are tired of being warned and never being walked through the door. Real talk, raw truth, woke faith.